Elizabeth Holmes raised more than $700 million for a machine that never worked, and the most powerful men in America lined up to defend her while it was failing. Henry Kissinger sat on her board. James Mattis sat on her board. Not one of them ever asked to see the data. Here's the burning question. How does a 9-year-old college dropout with no medical training build a $9 billion blood testing empire without a working product for 12 years? By the end of this video, you'll see exactly how the machine of belief was built, piece by piece. And you'll see the moment 2-year-old lab worker decided to tear it down. Start with the idea, because the idea was genuinely beautiful. Stanford, 2003. Elizabeth Holmes is a 9-year-old chemical engineering student who is terrified of needles. And she asks a simple question. Why does a blood test need a whole vial from your arm? Why not one drop from a finger, tested on a small machine in a pharmacy, cheap, fast, everywhere? Hundreds of tests from a single drop. Disease caught early. Nobody dying of something a $3 test could have found. Write that idea down and it still looks like a billion-dollar company. That was never the problem. She files her first patent as a teenager. She takes her tuition money, drops out of Stanford, and founds a company in 2003. She works out of a basement office, sleeps little, eats almost nothing, and recruits with a pitch professors couldn't resist. Her own Stanford dean joins the board. One professor, Phyllis Gardner, tells her the science doesn't work. A drop of finger blood is too small and too contaminated for that many tests. Remember Phyllis. She was right in 2003, and it will take the world 12 years to catch up to her. But here's what happened next, and this is where the story turns. Most founders with an impossible product either fix it or fold. Holmes found a third option: perform it. She studied one man obsessively, Steve Jobs. She wore the same black turtleneck. She hired his designers. She even deepened her voice. Colleagues later said the baritone was practiced. If you can't ship the product, ship the founder. And it worked, because the climb looked real from outside. By 2010, Theranos had raised nearly $100 million. By 2013 came the deal that changed everything. Walgreens, one of America's biggest pharmacy chains, agreed to put Theranos wellness centers in its stores. Real customers, real doctors, making real decisions. So the valuation exploded. By 2014, $9 billion. Holmes owned half. Magazine covers called her the next Steve Jobs, the youngest self-made female billionaire on Earth. Quick zoom out. At this exact moment, the company's own device, the Edison, could reliably run only a handful of tests. Not 200. A handful, badly. So, what was testing the blood of actual Walgreens patients? Commercial machines. Siemens analyzers, the same ones every hospital uses, secretly running diluted finger prick samples they were never designed for. Diluted samples, distorted results, sent to real people. Think about what that means. A woman is told her hormone levels suggest a miscarriage. A man's results suggest a clot risk that isn't there. The product wasn't just fake. The fake was being injected into medical decisions. But nobody inside could say it. Theranos ran on secrecy. Employees, siloed. NDAs, everywhere. Departments forbidden to talk to each other. And enforcing it all was Sunny Balwani, company president, nearly 20 years older than Holmes, and secretly her boyfriend. A relationship hidden from the board and from investors. The two of them controlling every wall of the maze from inside. And the board? That's the genius of the machine of belief. Kissinger, George Shultz, Mattis. Senators, generals, statesmen. Zero laboratory scientists. The board wasn't there to govern, it was there to be photographed. Every famous name made the next investor feel safe, and every investor made the next famous name feel safe. Belief, laundered in a circle. So who breaks a circle like that? Not a regulator, not an investor. A 2-year-old. Tyler Shultz joined Theranos in 2013, fresh out of Stanford, and he was board member George Shultz's grandson. Inside the lab, he saw the quality control failures, the cherry-picked validation data. He raised it internally. He was dismissed. So in 2015, he became a source for a Wall Street Journal reporter named John Carreyrou, and here's the part that tells you everything about power. When Theranos figured out there was a leak, lawyers ambushed Tyler at his own grandfather's house. His family pressured him to sign. He refused, and his parents ended up spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on his legal defense. The company's last product was intimidation. It wasn't enough. October 2015. Carreyrou's Exposé hits the front page of the journal. The machine of belief meets the machine of evidence. Regulators inspect the labs and find them so deficient they ban Holmes from operating a lab. Walgreens pulls out and sues. Test results, nearly 1 million of them voided or corrected. The $9 billion evaporates. Forbes revises her net worth from $4.5 billion to zero. And then, the ending this series usually doesn't get to give you. The Zuckerberg playbook says, settle it, pay the fine, keep the machine. Holmes tried exactly that. The SEC settlement in 2018 cost her $500,000 and her voting control, no admission of guilt. The playbook working one last time. But fraud on patients isn't a line item. In January 2022, a jury convicted her on 4 counts of defrauding investors. In November 2022, a judge sentenced her to more than 11 years in federal prison. Sunny Balwani got nearly 13. The turtleneck came off. The sentence didn't. So what separates her from the founders who got away with it? Not honesty. Ambition wasn't the crime, and neither was the black turtleneck. Software can be faked until it works. Facebook was buggy. Windows crashed, and nobody died. Blood doesn't negotiate. She ran the fake it playbook in the one industry where the product is a human body, and the reckoning arrived with the only unfakeable data there is. The idea, by the way, cheap, accessible, early testing, still beautiful, still mostly unsolved. Somewhere right now, someone is pitching it again. Ask them one question Phyllis Gardner would ask. Show me the data. Next week, a founder who also sold Pure Belief, a $47 billion office rental company dressed up as a tech revolution. He lost the company, watched it go bankrupt, and still walked away with more than $1 billion. Adam Neumann and WeWork. Subscribe, because the next chapter of the playbook is the one where losing means winning.